The NCAA March Madness basketball tournament is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. During its first weeks, millions of people who haven't watched a second of college basketball tune in for the tournament. But the tournament wasn't always the highly anticipated revenue-generating mogul it is today. So about 35 years ago, some underdog college basketball programs faced extinction from the tournament. As the tournament boomed through the 1980s, more schools wanted to build dominant D1 programs, hoping to get into the tournament to gain exposure and revenue. There were discussions to eliminate the automatic bid from teams from smaller conferences because just how dominant the D1 programs were getting. This caused smaller Ivy League programs to face elimination from the tournament altogether. It didn't help that the previous three Ivy League schools, featuring Cornell, Brown, and Penn State, all won the Ivy League championship, received a bid to join the March Madness tournament, and all lost by an average of 40 points. The NCAA also didn't want smaller schools joining the tournament because they didn't bring much media coverage and normally wouldn't be nationally televised. However, that all changed in 1989 when the newest Ivy League champions, the Princeton Tigers, faced off versus the powerhouse Georgetown Hoyas, who had a future NBA legend starting at center, Alonzo Mourning, on the team. This was a good old-fashioned David vs. Goliath story where everyone was expecting a blowout win from Georgetown. Georgetown had a dominant season winning the Big East Conference tournament, putting them as a favorite in the March Madness tournament. Princeton, on the other hand, was dominant in their own rights as they only lost 3 games that season and beat Harvard for the Ivy League championship to get an automatic bid in the March Madness tournament. Princeton accomplished their goal to win the Ivy League championship and to make the big tournament, but even the players didn't believe that they could actually beat Georgetown. Here's what the Princeton starting point guard had to say about the Georgetown matchup. "I think we're 1 in a billion to win the whole tournament, and to beat Georgetown, we're only 450 million to 1. Before going into the game, the media was making jokes on how bad Georgetown was going to beat Princeton.
Princeton and Georgetown, I'll tell you what, I'm supposed to go home for the weekend. If Princeton could beat Georgetown, I am going to hitchhike to Providence, which isn't that far from here. I'm going to be their ball boy on their next game, and then I'm going to change into a Princeton cheerleading uniform. I'm going to lead all the cheers. Let's go Tigers! Let's go Tigers!"
That should be enough
never
to motivate.
Interesting enough, at the time, ESPN would hand select a few games to broadcast live in the first round, and Princeton and Georgetown was one of the games selected, which confused the majority of college basketball fans because these types of matchups flat out were just not chosen to be nationally televised. So to begin the game, Georgetown was playing very lackadaisical as they didn't take Princeton seriously. However, Princeton controlled the game at their own pace, being very cautious of the Georgetown's long athletic defenders. Princeton's head coach introduced a strategic approach that challenged conventional basketball wisdom, empowering the Princeton offense characterized by deliberate ball movement, backdoor cuts, and precision execution. By doing so, the Tigers disrupted Georgetown's defensive schemes. And by halftime, Princeton was leading by 8 and had a real shot of pulling off the biggest upset in college basketball history.
I guess speechless would be the way to describe us here. The only thing I can say, Dick, is that the head of the Princeton cheerleading squad just called, wanted to know what size tutu you wear.
I can't believe this. John, I'll do the opening game next year at Princeton. I don't have to go to Providence, do I?
Yeah, you gotta go.
I'm telling you right now, the way that tempo is, can you believe that? They're spreading the court. I talked about earlier, the guy's a master. He's a master with the backdoor cut. And you know what's really happening out there? Georgetown is so flustered and flabbergasted. I can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm looking at, John. This is unbelievable. College basketball. Incredible.
And the media was completely speechless by having to take back everything they said prior to the game. And at this time, everybody was tuning into the game or calling friends and family to turn on the TV to watch the Princeton-Georgetown game. In a matter of minutes, what was once viewed as a pointless basketball game turned into a nationwide phenomenon. Toward the second half, Georgetown realized they were in trouble and started playing with a sense of urgency. They gave Alonzo Mourning the ball almost every time down the court, as at the time he was one of the most dominant college basketball players in the country. After a back and forth battle in the second half, Princeton had the ball on the inbound with 15 seconds left, down by 1.
Which, Doyle, Scrabus, and Mueller.
Georgetown man-to-man.
They give it to Scrabus. Bobby Winston on him. He gets a screen from Mueller. Comes on fire. Blocked by Mourning. Loose on the floor. Jefferson can't save it. Out of bounds.
On the floor with a second to go.
1 second on the clock. And Princeton's got a final prayer.
After the Alonzo Mourning block, the Princeton Tigers had one more shot to make history.
Mourning has come up huge at the end of this ball game from the foul line, and with that defensive play, it's enough time for Princeton, though, to get it in and get a shot off.
The 6th block.
Going to try to get it to Scrabus.
Lappin. Mueller fires. No, the Hoyas escape. And I mean escape.
Unfortunately though, Princeton was unable to complete the biggest upset in college basketball history. However, this one college basketball game set up the bright future for all college basketball. The Princeton-Georgetown game would prove to be one of the largest milestones in the history of sports on television. Later that year, CBS would strike a $1 billion deal to the rights of the entire tournament rather than selecting favorable games. CBS being a free-for-all channel, they made the entire tournament available for the whole nation to watch. Neil Pilson, the CBS sports president at the time, provided a quote on why he pulled the trigger on the $1 billion deal. The hope that a 16 can beat a number 1 is part of the mystique of the tournament, and Princeton-Georgetown created a public anticipation that it's going to happen. Princeton's near upset of Georgetown inspired a newfound appreciation for underdog stories within college basketball. Now let's take a look at this graph to show the impact of the deal, and here we can see in the 1990 when the deal was signed, the revenue from the NCAA basketball tournament made its first major jump and showed steady growth ever since. The revenue increase directly correlates with the interest in the tournament. The more consumers watch, the more revenue generated. And here we are in 2024, and the March Madness tournament is one of the largest sporting events in the nation, and it's continuing to grow. That all has to do with CBS seeing an opportunity to spend big on the March Madness tournament and making it available to everyone in the world for absolutely free. Since the initial purchase of the $1 billion deal, CBS has continued to pay big for the rights to nationally televise the March Madness tournament, with the latest one being signed in 2010 for $10.8 billion. The money poured into the tournament every year is a financial support behind the incredible March Madness tournament and many other collegiate sports. The Princeton vs. Georgetown basketball game of 1989 will forever be remembered as a pivotal moment in the history of March Madness. It challenged conventional notions of competition, strategy, and underdog potential, reshaping the tournament's narrative and inspiring generations of players, coaches, and fans. As March Madness continues to evolve, this game remains a testament to the enduring excitement of college basketball.